Hi, everyone. Good morning. I wanted to share with you a couple of things that happened this weekend that sort of, uh, or one thing of the few that had me a little bit riled up this weekend. I plan to share the others in the in the coming days of the week. Um, but something frustrating happened for me during a conversation I was in, and during my conversation with this individual, we had covered a variety of different topics, but one including upskilling. And their belief was that it was up to every individual person to upskill themselves for the job that they wanted and to educate themselves for the job that they wanted. Um, as many of you may know, I am not a believer in that process because I don't believe that opportunity is equal. I believe talent is distributed equally, but I don't believe opportunity is distributed equally. So during that conversation, I was trying to provide an example to show that opportunity is not delivered equally, and therefore it's not up to the sole person to upskill themselves because not everybody has the same fairness in which to do so. Um, or even educate themselves. It's not it those upskilling and education are not the same for everybody. So the example I provided, and I tried to provide a real world example. I said, okay, say that I'm somebody who has no computer, no Wi-Fi, three siblings that I take care of, and I'm a person of color. This individual interrupted me and said, a person of color does not matter for this situation, because there are more poor white people than there are poor Black people. I paused because I could not believe that that was what was being said in defense of my point. I I continued on with my example, stating that person of color for my example did in fact matter, and I was going to continue my point as such. Um, and based on my research, confirming of what I already knew, I hadn't told him this, hadn't told this person this, but um, I looked it up when I got home, and Black people are the poorest, followed by Hispanics, and then white people. So the statement in general that this person made was incorrect. Um, but it was more than that for me. I wasn't necessarily talking about who was the poorest based on their color. I was thinking more about oppression and the fact that, people of color, there's classism in there, and that they often don't have the same opportunities because they have been oppressed and for systematic racism. So I wanted to get up and leave that conversation because I just felt like nothing I could say would change this person's mind. And so I didn't, I didn't like make a big stink about it or a big argument, but I made sure to hit home the fact that my statement was still true and I was going to continue on with my example because it was important to my example. When I got home later that day, I sat there thinking, this is just a drop in the bucket for what people of color have to deal with every day. And I kept thinking to myself, people of color are probably having these conversations multiple times a day. That must be so frustrating to have to sit there and constantly educate people or constantly hear these claims made that are baseless. And I wanted to share that because I think that those are the things that I'll say where I live, as a white person, right? I don't encounter very often people actually saying those out loud to me, but I was just like, but I knew that it existed in this area, and it was really frustrating to have heard that. Um, but my example still stands because I do believe, just like President Paul LeBlanc at SNHU, that talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. And we have still so much more that we can do about it. And that's what change that I, a people partner, am fighting for. Um, that's part of our mission. It's part of our values. Include diversity, equity, inclusion, um, empathy, right? All of those key elements. So I just want to share that as a real world example of something that I faced this week. And again, there were a couple other things that happened from that conversation in another situation that I wanted to share with you all. But for sake of video, I won't keep this going very long. But I thought I'd share that. Happy Monday, and know that, you know, there are people that are wanting change, because change is what we need. We can't continue to live in a world where people don't see that oppression exists and that systematic racism is real. Have a great rest of your day and a great week. I will be back on later this week to share some more thoughts and information.